Hello everybody and welcome back to Typical City. Two more players doing the rounds as outgoing rumours from Manchester City Football Club. One I'm okay with, not too pleased with, and another that I think would be a big mistake to let him go. But let's start with the one I'm sort of okay about. Sad to see him go more than worried, because I do think we can replace him, and that is Riyad Mahrez, who is reportedly on the other end of a move to Saudi Arabia again, to Al Ahly, for only £86 million for the duration of his contract. £43 million per year he's going to earn. So, bit of a step down financially, of course, but, Jesus Christ, you're not saying no to that, are you? Come on. 32 years old, £86 million over the course of the 2-year contract that he's being offered is outrageous wages. Can you blame him? Can you blame him? It is an absolute lie. Even at that stage, with being a footballer, that is another level of wealth we're talking about here compared to what he's already earned at City. Of course, that's a lot of money, but that's just like 2 years, a drop in the ocean in comparison to the duration of his whole career, and to earn probably close to what he earned in his entire time at City. So, unbelievable wages. But the medical, that's up next. He's flying over to Abu Dhabi apparently, so it sounds likely that the Riyad Mahrez one is going to happen. His numbers are unbelievable, like consistency wise. They never get so high, but they never drop that low either. Always in the low teens in both goals and assist categories. So we are losing a formidable player, a player that served us well, who brings that composure and the calm-headed nature of Riyad Mahrez, where we do tend to have a lot of frantic midfielders that bodes well for us over the period of the last 2 or 3 years, the likes of Phil Foden and Jack Grealish. Grealish can calm himself down a little bit, but Phil Foden doesn't have an off button. He's like someone who needs the batteries pulled out of his back every once in a while, just to recharge. Take it easy, Phil. Slow the game down every once in a while, and that is what Riyad Mahrez is a master of. The way he can just kill the game, and it's almost like slow motion for him. He can take his time, and we are going to miss that. And the lack of pressure that he feels. He goes into Champions League semi-finals away to Real Madrid, at home to PSG, even at home to Real Madrid as well, and it just doesn't bother him. It doesn't faze him. So that is something we are going to miss. But do we already have a Norwegian striking Viking that isn't Erling Haaland to be able to replace Riyad Mahrez? And that man is Oscar Bob. Oscar Bob with 2 B's at the end of Bob. So good they gave him an extra B, which I presume stands for bloody brilliant. I'm hoping it does. 19 years old. I think it was 17 assists last season. 17 assists in 26 appearances, and I think he got 6 or 7 goals on top of that as well. So not a bad turnout. That resulted in his 2nd season in a row for EDS Player of the Year. Ståle Solbakken, I think that's how you pronounce his name, the Norwegian national team manager, is already ready to promote him after watching his performances in the under-21s Euros of this year. He's ready for the first team apparently, so Norway could have Haaland alongside Oscar Bob and 2 City players leading the line up there for Norway, so that would be an interesting sight to see. But is he good enough to make it into the City first team? We have to wait and see. If you go and watch him and watch Oscar Bob, he isn't that far away from Riyad Mahrez. He's got a wand of a left foot, and he can take the ball in tight spaces, turn on a sixpence, and he's just got that 360 vision, an eye for a goal, an eye for a pass, and composed as well. One thing he has got that Mahrez doesn't is he's got a little burst of speed. He's got that teasing ability, the way he can dangle a carrot the way Mahrez does and just boop, pop it past you and I'm gone. And Oscar Bob can do that, but it's once he's past you, he stays past you, where Mahrez often has to slow down, get to the byline and cut back sometimes. And he'll do it brilliantly, Mahrez. He'll make you think you've got the chance to win the ball, but you haven't got a chance. He knows what you're doing. He'll read your body language before you've even made your mind up. And he's set himself up to either cross it, whip it in, get a shot away, or even go onto his right foot as well, which is something Oscar Bob can definitely do. It looks like he's 2-footed as much as he is prominently a left-footed player. He can play with both feet, as can Riyad Mahrez, who got numerous goals for us with his right foot, Mahrez. So I'm going to miss Mahrez, but I don't consider him to be a massive mistake to let him go, especially because I trust City. The fact that there isn't a glamorous name in the rumour mill suggesting that there is someone coming in to replace him. I've already named Oscar Bob. I mean, if Cole Palmer's on his way out, maybe Pep sees Oscar Bob as a more like-for-like replacement. The fact that Cole Palmer's ahead of him would, for me, it would be a hard ask to suggest that Oscar Bob coming from the EDS would overtake Cole Palmer in his ranking in the first team squad, and Cole Palmer suddenly shifted out on loan to Brighton. Not sure that makes too much sense, to be honest, because Cole Palmer's not really had that much of a chance at City. Little glimpses here and there, but not the likes of Rico Lewis last season, who got genuine minutes under his belt. Phil Foden obviously is fully proven now, first team player guaranteed. So can Oscar Bob follow in the footsteps of Phil Foden and get into the City first team and prove himself while he was there? Because there were games where Cole Palmer didn't take the opportunity that well. Games where he did take it quite well. He got a couple of goals, some good performances away at home to Chelsea in the League Cup. I remember him battering Azpilicueta all the way back to Madrid. So Azpilicueta's gone now. Probably the day he realised I need to get out of this Premier League because these kids are too young for me and they're too quick for me now. So off he goes. But Cole Palmer is someone that excites me. I like the idea of him going to Brighton. I think he could flourish more at Brighton, get more minutes under his belt and maybe come back. James McAtee is another one, but I've said it time and time again that it is rare for players to go out on loan, then come back and get into the first team of the club that they've left from. It's not a frequent occurrence. So can Cole Palmer, if he goes out on loan, if Pep keeps him, I think there's your answer. If Cole Palmer stays at City, he is the Riyad Mahrez replacement. I think it is as simple as that. And we have to accept that and allow Cole Palmer to be given a genuine chance. 5 or 6 games in a row would be nice. No player really gets that under Pep Guardiola. He is consistently rotating, but even a long spell now is 4 games under Pep, isn't it? Without being benched for a game. To get 4 games, even considering the League Cup, the FA Cup, and the fact that we could play lower teams in those tournaments, tends to mean Pep rotates so frequently. But at the start of the season, Pep tends to stick with his starting 11 a little bit more prominently rather than rotating, which tends to be during the Christmas periods and after the Christmas periods in particular. We see a lot more rotation happening as the Champions League picks up and the latter stages of the cups pick up. So rotation happens more at the back end of each season, whereas at the start it might be the time to give Cole Palmer a chance if he is at City. So whether he goes to Brighton, I think that will answer your question, who is the replacement for Riyad Mahrez when it goes, and it sounds like he's on his way. The reason why I don't think it's that big a mistake either is because he's not going to go away and threaten us in Saudi, is he? You know, he's not going to a Liverpool or a Chelsea or a United or any team that could do damage against us. He's going to Saudi Arabia, out of sight, out of mind, not major threat to us, no threat at all, of course. So I see that as a sensible move from City. £30 million as well as the rumoured fee that we're going to be getting for him, which is a good price for a 32-year-old. I think that's reasonable. I think it's fair. But Oscar Bob, what do you guys think? Do you think Oscar Bob could replace Riyad Mahrez? But in other news, Kalvin Phillips. Now that is the big mistake if City were to let him go. And the rumour is Liverpool are in for him, known to be addressing their midfield. McAllister, Szoboszlai, Lavia's been linked, but that's not happened yet. So maybe they've shifted their attention to Kalvin Phillips. I think that would be a mistake. To lose Kalvin Phillips, I think it would be a huge mistake. I don't think we've seen the best of him. Last season in particular, in 204 days last season, he was injured. Over the course of a year, 204 days, that amounted to 38 fixtures he was injured for. So how can you call Kalvin Phillips one way or the other? You can't say he's poor and he's not good enough for City. You can't say he deserves a chance either because he's going to be a good player. It's hard to... We can't judge him yet. We're going off Leeds, really. We're still looking at that past performances in a Leeds shirt and his England player of the tournament, player of the year he got. England's player of the year from the national team during his Euro 2020 performance alongside Declan Rice. He looked amazing and his range of passing looked formidable. It looked really, really good. So the fact that he's so injury prone, it's hypothetical. Again, you keep him and we get another injury prone season from Kalvin Phillips and he's like, another 2/3 of the year he's out. And you think, we should have let him go because injuries are an important... It's sad to say, but it does make me feel like these players are treated like meat. You know what I mean? When you worry about their injuries, but the clubs are so important now. The money involved in the sport as well. You do have to factor in injuries. There's no room for sentiment. You can't be keeping players because when he plays, he's really, really good. but he spends 2/3 of the year injured. So if he is one of those players that injury prone, then you better get rid. And if the medical team at City, who have proven that we can turn injury prone players, İlkay Gundogan, he rocked up injured. He was always injured at Dortmund and he came to us injured. He got injured in his first 2 years and our medical team moulded him into someone who rarely got picked up injuries. Kevin De Bruyne is another one. He can pick up the odd injury as well. So I'm not convinced that we've seen the best of Kalvin Phillips yet. The fact that he's turned up first to training, by the way, that's another indication of where his mind's at right now. He wants to get focused and prove himself. The second season under Pep Guardiola has been proved by numerous players that it takes a little time to bed in with Pep Guardiola and the City tactics that he likes to implement. It's not an easy task. Can Phillips do that? And now that part of the pitch has become even more important. The number 6 role that Pep Guardiola played himself as a player, he knows the difficulty of that role and how difficult it is. And in prior years, we've just slapped Rodri in there and Fernandinho in there, and it's been the one guy to worry about. And the fact that it was either Rodri or Fernandinho, you fold your arms and go, I'm happy with both of them, no problem. Now Fernandinho's gone and we play 2 players in there. It's a much bigger problem. We now need 2 players and potentially either one of the midfielders that can drop into it. I think Kovacic is the one. You've got John Stones who can come in. But Kalvin Phillips, could he be the one that sits alongside Rodri and getting more minutes? Is he going to be playing in the Premier League throughout, though? Is he going to be playing in the Champions League big games? He's got to prove himself on the training pitch, because there were times last season where, albeit Phillips spent huge amounts of time injured, Pep just wasn't picking him. There were times where it was like, right, you can play, and he was like, no, John Stones. Even in like lower league games against in the League Cup or the FA Cup away to Bristol, he played in that game. So I saw moments where Pep had an opportunity to play him and he didn't. So obviously something in training is not pleasing Pep. But Kalvin Phillips, first in through the door, before everybody else, he's training before everybody else. So that's an intent. He's showing his attitude and his positive attitude, his can-do attitude. I'm going to prove everyone wrong and be a City player next year. And that's all we want from you. The attitude has to be right. If your attitude is spot on, then you're more than welcome to at least try and get yourself into that first team. Going to Liverpool, he could definitely get more minutes. He's going to play in a role with Fabinho, likely to go into Saudi Arabia. That's not confirmed yet, but that £40 million move sounds like it's likely. He didn't go away with Liverpool's pre-season, so Fabinho's very much on his way out. Henderson's the same. They need someone in that position, and Lavia's gone quiet, so Phillips fits the bill, hence the rumours. That would be a player that it's hindsight. Again, it is hypothetical. You look at that and you go, do you want to take the risk of the same risk we took with Gabriel Jesus and Zinchenko and allowing fringe players to go away to a rival and thrive and make them better and harder to beat and give them a bigger opportunity at getting a Premier League title? We saw what it did with Gabriel Jesus and Zinchenko, and we ended up finishing 4 points ahead of them in the end. And yes, I know it didn't punish us, but you keep doing it, eventually your local rivals will grow and grow and grow, and you need to be mindful about who you're selling to. And as much as you can't keep every player and hoard players, we don't want to be that club that hoards players. We should allow certain players to go. I think Kalvin Phillips will be a mistake. If we let him go to Liverpool in particular, it would be a big, big mistake, because I think there's more to come from Kalvin Phillips, and hopefully he deserves another season, put it that way. But Blues, I would love to hear your thoughts. I'd like to hear your thoughts on Riyad Mahrez going. Are you happy with Riyad Mahrez going? Are you happy with my suggestions for Cole Palmer and Oscar Bobb being the 2 replacements that we already have in our squad? And Kalvin Phillips to Liverpool, would that be a mistake? I think it would, but what do you guys think? Let me know in the comments below. Like and subscribe. Typical City is the channel, and I'll see you in the next one.
This is Typical City now, holding up silver.